Have now gone within 6 points of Eddie Howe's team, and they also have a game in hand, which is at home to Wolves in 10 days' time. Win that, and suddenly Liverpool are 3 points off the top four. It's been another good day, Michael. It's been an excellent week for Jurgen Klopp's side.
Absolutely, yeah, brilliant week. Derby game against Everton, a resurgent Everton, and an away trip to Newcastle to pick up 6 points out of 6 out of those, Steve, is a very good return. And all of a sudden, as you mentioned, you know, lots of people were thinking it's all over the Premier League season for Liverpool in terms of Champions League football. But now, no question about it, a long way to go still. They're still in the running, still in the chase. And
as I say, Liverpool the only time to beat Newcastle. They had their consequences and their reasons today, Shay.
Yeah, it was a poor day for Newcastle. Obviously, Nick Pope getting sent off. Was he injured? Joe Linton's now holding his hamstring for next week, cup final as well. So it couldn't have been any worse, really. Guimaraes is back next week, of course, but it's sort of get the cotton wool around him for the rest of the week. And he knows teams like Liverpool are chasing them hard for Champions League. Of course they are, and it's amazing. Before the Everton game on Monday night, you think, oh, Liverpool are miles out of it. 2 games later, and they're right back in the race for top four.
But it's that kind of crazy Premier League season all round, isn't it?
It is, Steve. If you'd asked me, 2 weeks ago, I would have said I can't see Liverpool getting in the top four. Not because mathematically they couldn't. It was just that they were playing so badly at the time. I just couldn't see them going on a good run. But this was a really tough fixture, and of course things went their way with the sending off and things like that. But they were already 2 up at the time. But it was, but now all of a sudden you're looking at that league table and anything's possible. And Newcastle will be looking over their shoulders. It was a harsh day for them. I thought, even though with 10 men, I thought they played quite well. And they had a lot of chances. I thought Alisson was brilliant in the Liverpool goal. So lots for that man to be positive about, obviously going into a big cup final next weekend.
Yeah, and not just Liverpool looking at the league table, looking at the substitutes bench, Shay, when they're bringing on some of those players. We saw 4 at one go.
Yeah.
And Diaz back in training.
Yeah,
it's looking a lot better.
Firmino back fit, back playing.
Van Dijk back in the team today.
Van Dijk was a big leader. I mean, I know Michael said the 2 goals. It was so unlike Newcastle today. The 2 goals they conceded. 2 goals after 17 minutes at home in St James's Park. It's been a fortress all season. No goals conceded hardly all season, and it's just a really poor start. And of course, a rush of blood from Nick Pope as well for the sending off. And with 10 men against Liverpool with 2-0 up already, it's going to be a difficult evening for them, and it proved that way. And it's mad how football turns so quickly, because they're flying Champions League position all season. Now they're looking over their shoulder. Now they're sort of trying to get people fit for next week. They missed their star goalkeeper, should we say, for the cup final as well. That's the big question: who's going to play in the final?
Yeah, that is another chat for a little bit later. But Eddie Howe and his assistant Jason Tindall and his coach Graham Jones acknowledging the crowd after just a second Premier League defeat all season for Newcastle, and their first at home since April, when they were also beaten by Liverpool. Goodness me, what a day in the Premier League. We seem to say it every weekend at the moment, but it keeps on delivering. Aston Villa, Arsenal was extraordinary. Arsenal went back to the top of the table, 2-1 down with half an hour to go. They won it by 4 goals to 2. Brentford are 11 unbeaten. They got an equaliser late on against Crystal Palace. Fulham are up to 6th with a late winner at Brighton. Chelsea beaten again by the bottom team, Southampton, who just sacked their manager, Nathan Jones. 2 wins in 14 in all competitions for Chelsea. Sean Dyche, he's had 3 games in charge of Everton. The away one, of course, the Merseyside derby, but he's won both home fixtures 1-0, beating Leeds today. They've exchanged positions in the relegation zone. Manchester City dropping more away points after their midweek win at Arsenal. 1-0 up at Forest, but an equaliser from substitute Chris Wood meant it finished 1-1. And a huge win for Bournemouth, who've gone 7 without one. 1-0 away at Wolves, courtesy of Tavernier. And we just brought you Liverpool beating Newcastle by 2 goals to 0. The Premier League weekend is completed on Sunday, with Manchester United welcoming Leicester and West Ham going to Spurs, which is always a very tasty affair. Very interesting at the bottom. Southampton, the bottom club, get just a 5th win all season. They go within 3 points of safety. Leeds started the day out of the relegation zone. They finish in it, 2nd from bottom. West Ham have slipped into it before that trip to Spurs on Sunday. Bournemouth and Everton are out of it, and suddenly Wolves are only 3 clear of the drop zone. and the top, which we've seen change on Wednesday. When City went top, then Arsenal went back there with their win at Aston Villa, but Pep Guardiola's reigning champions missed the opportunity to go back to the top of the tree. They are on 52 points. Manchester United will be 3 behind them if they beat Leicester on Sunday. Newcastle could end the weekend out of the top 4 if Spurs beat West Ham. Fulham are into 6th, and Liverpool now up to 8th, as we say. 6 points off the top 4 with a game in hand. Much more from Shay and from Michael to come, and all the reaction from St James's Park, where Liverpool have beaten Newcastle again. It's a league double. They're the only side to get the better of the Magpies, who had 10 men, of course, after that extraordinary first half. They didn't concede again, but 2 was enough, yet again this week, for Liverpool. 2 crucial wins in a week then for Liverpool, and today at St James's Park. They were previously the last team to win there. They have done it again, and with another clean sheet. All the reaction to come, but let's go through that extraordinary first half. Goals, and of course that crucial red card for Nick Pope, which, remember, he cannot now play in the League Cup final next weekend at Wembley against Manchester United. But that's to come. First of all, we mentioned Nunez. He's had his critics in front of goal. Is he getting into his stride a little bit for you?
Well, you know my thoughts on him, Steve. I think this player could be anything he wants to be. I admit, at the moment, he's a little bit hit and miss. His finishing is, you know, is average at times. But he does some things that get me off my chair, and I think, wow, really do think, wow, he could be absolutely anything. I do think, not disappointed, but surprised how many gaps he's got in his game. I still think he's a very raw player. But you see on occasions he does things that are just top class. So I think he could develop into a really, really good player. And that finish today was one of those things that takes your breath away.
Sorry, Steve. I have no doubts about his finishing ability. He gets in, he works so hard for the team. He's up and down. He covers probably as much ground as any Premier League player. But when it comes to that final bit, that finishing bit, that's what worries me. But then the goal today showed like his 20th goal of the season. He actually got a really good touch, and then the connection with the ball. He didn't think about placing it or anything. Maybe Shearer, like, he just got his head down and asked straight through the middle of the ball, and it's past Nick Pope in a blur, really.
Now, as I said, Newcastle conceded just 13 league goals all season. 1 goal in 6 home Premier League games. But what went wrong today with the 2 goals?
Well, we said it before, 2 goals after 17 minutes. It's totally unlike Newcastle. You said the defensive record's been one of the reasons why they're in the top 4 all season, and I know Mo spoke about it at half-time. I think if you want to look at, when it comes to Trent, I want to see... sorry, I was worried about his. I thought it was a signal. Play it on there, Mo, just.
Yeah, I think it's the switch, isn't it, that's they're very worried about.
Yeah. I mean, that space as well, Steve, is massive. We spoke about it at half-time. Trippier gets sucked into Andy Robertson on the left wing, claiming for a handball. But this is what I'm talking about now. His touch was brilliant. His touch gave him the chance. A bad touch there, maybe Pope's on it, or it might give Trippier a chance of making a block. But the touch sets it up beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly that. I do think if we take it right back to when Trent knocks it over, Shay, we spoke at half-time about Trippier and his position in all this. Do you think... I mean, he's purely anticipating that switch of play, isn't he? Over to Andy Robertson. Whereas, Steve, this is the one that you've got to make sure that is safe before you start anticipating anything. I do think, and he starts creeping.
Even if you put a blanket over the Newcastle team, they've pressed it down one side, which you say is really good setup from a Newcastle point of view. It's just Trippier, as you rightly says. He's got his eye on Robertson, and he actually gambles, Steve, at this point. I think if he holds his ground, when this ball's played into Nunez, he's going to be on him, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's going to be there.
I mean, look how close he is. He can get there.
By the time the ball travels,
he can absolutely get there. But look at this. Give it a couple of seconds, and all of a sudden he still hasn't played it. And look at the distance. It doubles, it trebles, maybe.
Yeah.
And then that's all Nunez needs.
And take nothing away from the delivery as well.
You take that for granted, don't you?
You do, but it's an unbelievable, ball from Trent as well. And it's a great touch, and Nunez just flushes the ball straight down the middle.
Now, talking to Nunez in front of goal, what about Cody Gakpo? What a week for him. A Merseyside derby goal. And another smart finish that impressed you today?
Yeah, it was. It was a very good finish. You know, he was part of the build-up to start with. I do think there's massive holes to be picked in the Newcastle defence here, which I haven't said much this season. But Mo Salah's ball, the vision, was incredible. And they had a lot of spin on that ball. His first touch was the key. And it was a decent, solid first touch. Kept it close enough to him to then put the finish in. But he's been scoring, of course, got his first one in the Merseyside derby, which was a great boost for him. And we know he comes with a record of scoring goals, so it's good to see him getting goals in the red shirt now.
Go on then, pick away in the Newcastle back line.
Yeah, well, as I say, this time the ball breaks on the left-hand side, and Gakpo is part of the build-up. But there's a couple of things in the centre, Shay, and we'll forward it and take it back as well. But you like the run of Henderson here.
Yeah, brilliant.
Moving into that.
What happens is, if you just pause it there again, go roll back a few, just more. So the three midfielders of Newcastle, you see Longstaff, Joe Linton, and this is Anderson here now, right? So he looks over his shoulder, he sees Henderson. Really, he should be here in this position, but watch Henderson run. If you just watch Henderson, doesn't touch the ball, Steve, but look, Anderson gets dragged in. Now there's a big, massive space here. I know Mo spoke brilliant at half-time about these two pointing, but that space is massive in your midfield. And that's only because of Henderson done a selfless run, really, wouldn't it, to create the space?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see here, in fact, we'll see that both players here for Newcastle, Burns and St. Maximin, they're both pointing to each other. Dan Burns is thinking Trent Alexander-Arnold, but originally he was picking up Mo Salah, but I think it was easier to pass him on, pass Mo Salah, while Mo Salah's coming in this direction, back towards the goal. I think it was easier to pass him on to St. Maximin. That's what he was trying to tell him. And all of a sudden, none of them, they do neither. And as soon as Henderson, as soon as the ball comes from Fabinho into Mo Salah there, then there's nobody picking him up. And then it's this area, Shay, that I'm not sure about at all. You've got Kieran Trippier at the back post. He can see everything.
Yeah.
But Cher, I don't know why, he just runs out.
He gambles, he just gambles. I think he's trying to play an offside on his own, basically, and it's a poor choice. He's got to stay with the runner, he's got to drop off. We've just seen Mo Salah, there's no pressure on the ball, Steve. As a defender, if there's no pressure, your automatic thing should be actually going the other way, not stepping up on your own. It's a poor mistake from Cher.
If the ball had been rolled back, you're fine with your back foot all squeezing up 3 or 4 yards, but actually he was coming forward and he still ran out. I don't know why he did it, but take nothing away from the Liverpool goal there. That was a really well-worked goal. Good timing of the run, good first touch, good finish, and, of course, a sublime ball by Mo Salah.
Then on 22 minutes, absolute heartbreak for Nick Pope. Remember, he will not be able to play in the Wembley Cup final next weekend. As I said to you at half-time, try and take us inside a goalkeeper's mind here.
Yeah, well, we know Alisson, the other goalkeeper, can do this. He can ping a ball 70, 80, 90 yards. And at this point, you know, he's got a good start position. We'll look at it a bit more on the touch table, but you can see here his foot movement a wee bit to the side, a wee bit forward, a little bit stop-start, should we say, as a goalkeeper, Steve. But then he makes a mistake. He doesn't get a clear connection with the head, you can see. He basically face plants into the ground, and his natural reaction as a goalkeeper is to grab the ball. You know, it's easy to stand here in the cold light of day and go, take your hands away, let Mo Salah go. Kieran Trippier may have got a tackle in. But just as a goalkeeper, even the kids watching, you just want to grab it because that's what you've done all your life. You know, you've made a mistake, and
it's just pure instinct.
It's instinct, yeah. It's instinct, and it's a poor mistake. And the biggest thing, as you said at the start, Steve, he misses the cup final. I mean, he's been, I don't know, many times nominated Player of the Month. He's had an unbelievable career at Newcastle.
12 clean sheets.
12 clean sheets, and it just shows you not everything in football is a fairy tale. He's going to miss the biggest showpiece of the week, you know, next week at Wembley, and now who starts for Newcastle in the final?
Well, we'll come to that in a moment, but you've got another angle.
Yeah, this is the angle.
Ball, is it?
Well, me and Mo just started talking off air about the setup. So obviously we got Trippier on the ball, and then we look at the Newcastle from an attacking point of view. Decent players in the box, but my concern now as a goalkeeper or a defensive coach or whatever they're called this day is this too much space? Mo Salah is one of the quickest players in the Premier League. Is that Longstaff perhaps be a bit deeper, or at least a defender maybe halfway in or something? Newcastle not thrown all the chips in, but they've gone pretty forward here, Mo, with this.
Yeah, well, if I'm Mo Salah, the ball's going to go over my head.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything. I'm basically just blocking a direction, you know, giving the goalkeeper a line, blocking a direction onto the near post. I've got a useless job, really. As soon as that ball goes over my head, I'm making that run. I don't care. I'm just running because there's so much space there. And, of course, the goalkeeper
just on this angle. So, obviously, Trippier has in Alisson goes, but look at Nick Pope's position now.
You're happy with that?
That's a brilliant position.
You're happy with that? No problem there?
No problem there at all. He's in a really, really aggressive starting position because, again, if nobody on the halfway line is a Newcastle defender, so your last man at the back is obviously Nick Pope, and I'm happy as the goalkeeper.
It does look vulnerable from a defensive point of view. I mean, I'd like my centre-half pro or somebody around that area. Maybe one there would be perfect. But anyway, they don't do it, and their worst nightmare comes true, and we'll just run it in normal speed to start with.
Credit Alisson as well. First coming for the cross and taking it. And if you just pause now, you see Pope's initial after Alisson kicks it, Steve, is actually to go back the way. So again, he's maybe he should have stayed where he was. I think he would have made the bit at the end a bit easier. But also, we mentioned at half-time, is the spin in the ball. When Alisson kicks it, it actually comes across the ball, and the ball's spinning away from Nick Pope all the time. So it makes it more difficult.
Well, let's have a look at it, because you pointed out Nick Pope is indecisive, and you can see him, he backpedals, he stops, he starts, he's not sure there.
Yeah.
And he's, shall I go?
And then he goes sideways a bit, and now the ball's going away, it's in Mo Salah's favour now.
Yeah.
And then again, he just gets a bit flustered after he doesn't get the real clear header on it, and it's no choice. The referee has to send him off.
Let's just have a look, Shay, at what you're talking, because I think this angle is fantastic in terms of the spin of the ball. When Alisson kicks it, if we just play this slowly, just have a look at this. The ball sets off.
It comes across it, yeah.
The left-hand side of the goal here, and look where it ends up. Look at the spin on that. And that foxes the goalkeeper.
Yeah, it does. But as I said, if Nick had stayed at the very start of that set, you know, at the start of the clip there, higher up, his first reaction was to drop off. So it's just, I feel for Nick, next week he's going to miss the final, and as I say, he's one of the star players this season.
Yeah, heartache for Nick Pope, but another very good day for Liverpool. We're delighted to be joined live now by Virgil van Dijk at St James's Park. Virgil, good to see you again. Well done. Pretty good week.
Yeah, something to build on. So gaining confidence slowly, step by step. And today was a very important one. So recovery, and then we'll be ready for Real Madrid.
And particularly today, because we know the record Newcastle have got. In fact, you were the last team to win there back in April.
Yeah, so someone had to do it, but that says it all. You know, it was a tough game, tough place to come, of course. We've seen it over the years. You know, passionate fans. I like the atmosphere quite a lot. But yeah, it's always a challenge here, and especially this season, they have been outstanding. And for us to, you know, come away with the win was important, but obviously we could have scored more. And there were also moments in the game that we could have done better as well. But you know, I think it was a mental question at one point that they actually had the red card and then changed the game a little bit.
Virgil, well played. It's Michael Owen here. I was just wondering, does it feel at the moment that there is a little bit of a turning point? A tough week, you know, Merseyside derby, away at Newcastle. Not only two big results, but you've got a lot of your big players back, yourself included. Does it feel like all of a sudden now you can go on a run and get back to the Liverpool of old?
Well, let's hope so. You know, we have to stick together at all times, through the good times, through the bad times, and I think the manager said it quite well over the last couple of weeks, is how you deal with the situation, how you deal with the you know, where we are at this stage, and that includes us as players, staff, but also the fans. And obviously we have a fantastic squad. We have seen it obviously over the last couple of years, and it doesn't change easy overnight. You know, we have to believe we'll find a way, and we're slowly gaining the confidence, and hopefully we will you know, go on a nice run. But it starts, you know, doing the basics, doing the hard work, and doing it all together. And obviously, it helps a lot if the squad is as big as it can with everyone fit, and that gains confidence too.
Yeah, and just finally on that, Virgil, when you see the likes of Jota and Firmino coming on today, Diaz back training, I mean, for a teammate, the amount of options attacking-wise you've got back now.
Well, it's needed. We play for Liverpool, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we need that quality, whether it's coming off the bench, obviously starting, but coming off the bench is as important to make the difference. And today, when they all come on, I think we could have scored obviously more, but maybe they want to keep it for the next match. So yeah, we keep going.
Brilliant, and great to see you back as well today. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a nice evening.
Virgil van Dijk live for you from St James's Park. Another clean sheet for Liverpool. Another 3 points for Liverpool.
One of those things that happens to a goalkeeper probably at least once in their career. How is he coping with that?
I haven't had an in-depth chat with him. I've seen him. He looks visibly upset. I think he's been outstanding for us this season. Technically, was it handball? Probably. I don't know the rules on red cards outside the box. For me, it was a harsh reaction to what had happened, but I understand if the rules are in place. I feel for Nick because he's been magnificent for us, and to miss the next game is a huge blow for him.
Especially with the next game being what it is, and with Martin Dubravka cup tied. So is Loris Karius ready? You've seen him in training. Is that what happens now?
Yeah, possibly. We've got a decision to make. Mark Gillespie's trained very well this season, as has Loris, and we've had a really strong goalkeeping group. So Loris has got an incredible amount of experience behind him as well.
Well, it's an incredible story, the way particularly for goalkeepers, sometimes football turns. Loris Karius, who actually, I think you were telling me earlier, when you were at Manchester City, was an 18-year-old training with you. Hasn't played a senior game for 2 years since being on loan at Union Berlin, and he could well start a League Cup final at Wembley for Newcastle.
Well, it's unbelievable how things happen sometimes in football. People will say, Karius, let Darlow go on loan to Hull. You know, Karius is coming to the game today, probably thinking cup finals next week. At least I'll be on the bench and, you know, I'll be there supporting the team and that. He's actually going to start the game. And the last major...
Let's just point out to people as well, saying Dubravka came on today. Yes. He cannot play, ironically, because he played in the EFL Cup twice on at Manchester United. So I just wanted to clear that up in case people are screaming.
So if Man United won the cup final and Dubravka gets a medal.
Correct.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
I'm more confused now. But what I'm saying, back to Karius, he's not played in a major cup final since that Champions League day. Real Madrid versus Liverpool, and he had a really, really poor game. He's been sort of, his whole career will be reminded probably of that one single game. So now Eddie Howe and his staff have got to get his head right for this game come Sunday. Yeah. It's a massive game.
Yeah, he's got a decision to make between him and Mark Gillespie, who hasn't played a senior game for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I'm ready, lads, I'm ready.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Get the gloves on.
Free agent.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's sad, isn't it? I mean, Newcastle, it's such a big game for them. And Joe Linton sort of went off today, looked as if he wanted to continue, even though he was holding his hamstring. So hope he's back fit, because another player that's had an important role to play this year. But goalkeeper, such an important position. And he's such a good guy, I think, Pope. You just feel so sorry for him. I know the rules are the rules. I'm not sort of trying to change those rules, but I just feel so sorry for him. And, you know, a big game and he's out.
Absolutely. Here are the quick thoughts of the Liverpool manager, Jurgen Klopp.
Jurgen, 3 points on the road, a satisfying evening?
Yeah, absolutely. Against 10 men for that long time, of course, you could create more, you could score more, but we lost in that moment a little bit of momentum, didn't get it 100% back, and left the door open for Newcastle. And when you create or cause that many set pieces, then, yeah, you are not outnumbered. It's actually not important how many players you have in that moment, because 5-6 players are enough to be a proper threat. So it made it difficult, but in the end, in our situation with that long, you know, somebody told me last time we had a clean sheet away from home, it's like it was in April or whatever.
It was here.
Yeah, crazy, to be honest, but that shows something, and so I'm really happy. It's not that I thought that when everybody could see it was not a perfect performance, but the goals we scored were perfect.
They certainly were, and it's been a terrific week for Liverpool, as we said.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant week. 6 points out of 6. Derby victory, a victory against a team that they're hoping to knock out the Champions League places themselves.
OK, chaps, thank you very much indeed, as always, for your company. An extraordinary day on Match Day Live. Everywhere you look around the Premier League, none more so than at the top. There'll be plenty more, but there could be another significant twist today in the Premier League title race. From the three of us, we'll see you soon.